Welcome to the video in the Refugee series, and this video is about the interview process. So as I mentioned in my previous video, your initial interview is called a screening interview in the UK. It might be called something else in other countries. This is where they just get your name, your date of birth, where you're from, why you're applying, just very basic information. Then the second interview, which happens a few weeks to a few months later, is where they do the full interview. Now, in the full interview, they will go through every event and incident to find out whether you have a case for asylum, whether you can be a refugee. In order to get your story correct, which I urge you to definitely do, because the interviewer, I have worked as a Refugee Status Determination Officer, RSD, for the UNHCR, where I used to determine whether people had a claim or not. And we look for the story to be coherent, honest, and the right timeline as well. So the names, places, people, all the same. So anything you mention in your screening interview and also your actual interview has to match up. So I always say to people who are going for the interviews, even before the first one, the screening one, is to get a piece of paper. On there, do a timeline from the day you were born until now. And every single event that's happened, to mark it on there, write it. Any names, places, people, etc., write it down. Yeah, and if you are doing this in your home country and you think it's unsafe if someone finds this piece of paper, you can just use initials. You can just write something that no one else can find out and discover, something that just jogs your memory. So when you go to the interview, you can have it out in front of you, or you can memorize it and you can just explain your timeline. Of course, you can say, you know, you've had to write this down because otherwise, you know, because of the trauma, the stress, the depression, the problems you're going through, you might forget. So you'll have all that information down in front of you on a piece of paper, and that should be fine. Rehearse it, remember it, know it. The interviewer doesn't want to know about any sexual incidences or any sexual events or anything like that. What they want to know is how you felt, right? So basically, if you're born in an unsafe country as an LGBT person, what was the law saying? What was the politics saying? What were the government saying? What were the police saying? What were the religious people saying? The community saying? What was the situation in the country for other LGBT people? Did you see it? Did you feel it? When you found out you were LGBT, when your body started changing, started going through puberty, how did you feel? Did you feel disgusted? Did you hate it? Did you try to change yourself? What was that battle, that turmoil? Now, some people are not very good at explaining emotions and feelings, and they might, especially if they've gone through trauma, close themselves to those things. Unfortunately, for this interview, that's how they want you to say it. They want you to explain those things. So if you come across unemotional, if you come across unaware, if you come across like someone who doesn't know the information that they want in the way they want it, you will lose your case. So you have to be very emotive, very specific. Such as, let me explain to you. Say, for example, I was applying for asylum and I was going for my interview and I came from, for example, Afghanistan. So I would say this, that in my country, Afghanistan, I always felt different. I was, for example, more feminine. I liked the girls' clothes, I liked the girls' dolls, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be that, right? And basically, as I started to get older, I was bullied. People were trying to call me names, calling me a girl, a sissy, and I felt very embarrassed. And my father would beat me, and my brothers would also beat me to be a man. And I knew from society that being a man for a man was most important, and being a woman for a woman was most important. And what was a man was someone who was masculine, who got married to a woman. This was our culture. I also knew that the religion, Islam, thought being LGBT was sinful and haram and wrong. And basically the government and the political system, the legal system, punished homosexuality by death. And I researched that, or I heard that, and I found out that, and I was very, very, very scared, because I knew if someone found out from me, that would happen to me. Even my father shouted at me and saying, if I am a homosexual, he will kill me with his own hands. This is the story, for example, that you would explain if this is what happened to you. And you would say that my body started changing, and I realized that my attraction was towards boys. How did I realize? I realized because in class at school, I would find Salim very attractive, or Ahmed very attractive, and I used to look into their eyes, and I used to feel sensations all across my body. And there was one boy, Akbar, who basically used to stare back at me, and we used to walk home together and exchange poems and exchange letters. In these letters, our relationship got more and more close, and we discovered that we liked each other, and we used to hold hands. One time we were holding hands in the school yard, and the teacher found us and whipped us with a stick 10 times and informed our fathers, who in turn took us home and beat us with a metal rod and the scars I have on my body, and told us if we ever do anything like this again, they will kill us. My mother cried so much that day, and she was really upset. This made me feel like I was haram, I was wrong, I was a mistake. I had to change myself and become straight. I had to marry a woman. My mum said that I must marry a woman. This was very difficult for me. I went into a severe depression, and I felt very guilty, and I was very, very sad. I would cry every night because I could not see Abdul no more. Abdul's parents took him outside of school, and he never returned. We never knew what happened to him, but I heard that he was killed. This is a story, and you're going to explain more about the religious side, the political side, the family side, all these things, and your feelings and emotions that you went through, okay? So you could say, at that time I discovered I couldn't be with a woman, and I needed to be and live my life as a gay person. And I also understood that in the West, for example, there was gay marriage. I saw it on YouTube, and therefore I made the decision to leave my country to go to a safe country. Otherwise I would experience a life living a lie, marrying a woman, or being killed. Okay, so does that make sense? They're going to want to know your feelings. I didn't mention any sexual activity. I mean, you can mention something brief, but there's no need to go into detail. It's about your feelings and emotions. They will say, how do you know you liked Ahmed? How do you know that you were gay? How do you know that the family, how would you felt when the religion? They want to know how you felt. So start practicing that story in front of the mirror. That's the way they want to know it, and in detail. And they will ask you over and over and over and over again. They will keep quizzing you. And if you don't say anything emotional, if you don't mention the law, if you don't mention the religion, the politics, the culture, the government, the police, then they won't give you asylum. So you can say that after Ahmed was killed, I went to the police to lodge a report to find out what happened to him, and they just laughed at my face and said he was a gay guy, and he's good that he's no longer here. We can't find him. So there's many things you can say. So if you went to the police and they never helped you, if you know the religion was against you, the community, the legal system, the laws of the country, you can use all that information to your benefit as you make your case. And in your story, have a lot of emotions. Of course, you'll have your timeline with all the events, the names, the places, the people, so you can refer to them. So they're going to want to know this in order. Yes, when I was 12 years old, I met Ahmed. When I was 13 years old, the teacher caught us in the playground holding hands. When I was 14, Ahmed went missing, blah, blah, blah. So you have to have your time frame in order. So I hope that makes sense for you. If you have any questions regarding this, feel free to email me. If it's generic, then you can put them down below. If it's specific, email me. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.